Welcome to the Reify Online Learning Hub. When you bind to a data source, you instantly get a functional form for editing data source records. But what about customizing it? In this tutorial, you'll learn how to change the overall layout of the form, numbers of columns, etc. Reorder fields to be in a different order from the data source. Omit fields you don't need in a particular form. Set a field to read only if it shouldn't be edited in a particular form. Add additional elements like headers. With customized binding, you get all the power of automatic form generation and automatic data handling, but you can make the form look however you want. Let's get started by adding a form. Just add a table layout form with a double click and bind it to the customer data source with a double click. Components can show all the fields from a data source, which is the default, or just the ones you need. In our case, let's imagine we don't need the territory field, because this screen is going to be embedded into a larger application where you only view one territory at a time, so it's unnecessary to display the territory. So we'll set that up. Start with a right mouse click on the table layout form in the component tree, and from the menu displayed, click Customize Binding. In this interface, the right-hand grid holds the list and order of all the fields currently selected for this component, and the left-hand grid is the list of all the other fields that won't be shown in this form. In here, you can change the position of fields, select additional fields, or deselect fields currently displayed. To deselect territory, simply drag that row from the right-hand grid to the left-hand grid, then click the Bind button to accept this custom binding, and that's it. We have now removed territory from this form. Next, we can optimize the space by turning off title wrapping for our item titles. Titles wrap by default so that a single, very long title doesn't skew your form. However, here we have enough room for the titles, so we'll turn title wrapping off. Click on the custom form in the component tree and then just click the Wrap Item Titles property checkbox, which will stop the item titles from wrapping. Currently, our form has a normal dropdown, what we call a select control, for picking the sales rep who made the sale. But imagine there are a large number of sales reps, so really you want to give the user the ability to search through them, rather than having to scroll through a very long dropdown list. Reify has a combo box control that can do exactly that, and we can customize the sales rep employee number field to use a combo box instead of the default dropdown. To do this, click on the Sales Rep Employee Number field in the component tree. In the Properties search bar, type Editor. Available editor types are based on the type of the field. In this case, this is an enum field. It contains a value chosen from a list of available values. Clicking the Editor Type property shows these available editors for this field type. So let's pick Combo Box with a click to set this up as a combo box. For our next customization, consider the situation where you want a user to be able to see a field, but not be able to change the value in it. An example of this may be showing a customer's credit limit, but not allowing it to be changed, as the credit limit is maintained elsewhere in the application. So we'll set up the credit limit field to be read-only. Start by clicking on Credit Limit field in the component tree to select it. The first thing we need to tell Reify is that this field isn't editable. So in the Properties search bar, type Edit. Notice how the Can Edit property is currently set to true? Just click in the checkbox to switch this off. Setting a field to Can Edit False defaults to it still looking like an editable text field because that will allow you to copy and paste the value and means it fits into the form layout more easily. However, we don't want that appearance here, so we will show you how to change this. Start by typing Read into the Properties search bar, and then click on the Read Only Display dropdown. There are three options that you can choose. Read Only. The field appears like normal editable fields but cannot be edited. This is the default. Disabled. The field appears as a grayed out disabled field. Static. The field appears as a static text value. In our case, click Static to set credit limit to be a static text value. Making good use of available space is always a good idea. At present, our form has one title and one editor per row, so to optimize the available space, we'll make the form have two editable fields on each row. Click on the Customer form in the component tree. In Reify, the title for an editor and the editor itself are counted separately, So to make this form have 2 fields on the same row, the value should be 4. If you want 3 fields in the same row, it should be 6, and so on. For our use case, we want 2 editable fields per row, so let's set this value to 4. Notice how the form has now been automatically reformatted into 2 columns. Next, let's consider how to change the order in which fields appear. Reordering the fields is as simple as just dragging and dropping them in the order you want. Let's separate the contact information from the other fields on display. In the component tree, drag and drop the sales rep employee number field directly below the customer name field. Now repeat the procedure to move credit limit directly below sales rep employee number. Now that we've moved things around a little, we now have all of our contact information together at the bottom of the form. So we'll create a contact details header title for that part of the form to make it easy for an end user to realize the rest of the content is contact information. To do that, in the component search bar, type header. Drag the header form item to below the sales rep field in the form on the screen. Now simply title it Contact Details and press Enter. Now that we have our form as we want it, let's quickly build a simple app to show it in action. Drag a split pane onto the screen below the form. Drag and drop our form into the detail pane of the split pane. Make sure the split pane is selected, then double-click the list grid and bind it to the customer again with a double-click. This will make sure the list grid is added to the navigation pane. The navigation pane currently isn't wide enough for the data in the grid, so let's give it a little more room. Drag the resize bar to the right so that the grid and the form have roughly the same space. Finally, let's see our new screen in action by clicking the preview icon. Click on the first record in the grid to automatically load it out into the form. Notice how the credit limit field is displayed as static text and is non-editable, and how we have 2 fields per row, with the contact details separate from the other customer fields, just as we designed it. Finally, let's see how our combo box editor works. Click on the down arrow in the sales rep dropdown to see a full list of values, with the current value already selected. Now let's clear this value and type B in the sales rep field instead. And notice how only sales representatives that start with the letter B are shown. This is just a taste of the highly customizable form layouts and content that you can create in Reify very easily. You can customize individual field sizes, span columns, add in-form spacing, and much, much more. Congratulations, you completed the tutorial.
Reify is a new kind of low-code platform, one you can use on every project, not just for the simple ones. Reify is a radically faster, radically better way to work. Try Reify today for free.